Hello, I am Jacob Lintner, and I am back here today with a live reaction to the Super Bowl. Game just finished, and just want to go over the big topics and, obviously the big plays and things that happened in the game. Obviously, the big elephant in the room is going to be that holding call at the end that on Juju, but I don't know if you call that there. Personally, I let that go. Um, I think it was a hold, to be fair, but that's just a tough one to see to end that game. But other than that, man, what a Super Bowl. I mean, just everything you wanted to see. High scoring game. Jalen Hurts, 3 touchdowns, most ever rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in a Super Bowl. Most rushing yards by a quarterback in a Super Bowl. Mahomes being kind of handicapped by his ankle, getting hurt early, even worse, and then coming back and, Andy Reid executing that crazy offense to start the second half and scoring every single possession. What more can you ask for in a Super Bowl? So it was just a great watch overall. I would say I was probably pulling for the Eagles just to see Hurts. I'm a big Hurts fan, but Mahomes is already cementing himself as he's getting in that best conversation. That's already 2 Super Bowls, and he's only 27 years old, so who knows, man. But big things I want to cover are the Chiefs' O-line not giving up a sack to one of the best defensive fronts ever in league history, which was the Eagles. Absolute stonewalled them. That's the MVP of my game. Just put on such a performance. It was huge because Mahomes couldn't be taking hits with his injury, and they just really protected him, allowed Pacheco to break off some big runs, and Mahomes to do his magic to the extent that he could with the hurt ankle. But man, did they really put up a game, and that's what won them that game. Hands down. The Eagles are known this season for their big splash plays on defense, really winning them games like it did with the 49ers. The play that Purdy got hurt, but nonetheless, they just get to the quarterback, and when they do, it's pretty fatal. But today they did not, and that was the difference maker. And along with that, I'll say Kadarius Toney. Who would have thought that at the beginning of the season that Kadarius Toney would have a Super Bowl ring, and not with the Giants, obviously. I don't think anyone would have predicted that. But either way, who would have assumed that Kadarius Toney would be walking away with a ring today? That punt return, man. Oh my! That's a swing in the game there. Arguably, that's a most valuable moment. I would say he really. It was almost a touchdown. Holy cow! Just ridiculous. And for him to, he's been injury prone, and he's been, really just kind of trying to find his footing over there in Kansas City. But for him to have, he had a touchdown. It wasn't that big, obviously a big deal, but he didn't do much on that. But that punt return, man, wow. Just ridiculous. But huge props to Mahomes. That's the ultimate fight through it, just gritty performance. Those are one of those things that doesn't show in the stat book as much, but wow. He pulled that off. That's great against that defense too. And that's another topic that we'll get to. That Eagles defense, first half, pretty good. Second half, not good. Looking back at it, it's important to kind of separate that they didn't play well, but also the play calling. I don't know how I feel about it. Really screaming at Mahomes there at the end in the red zone and allowing, I forget who it was, I think it might have been Jerick McKinnon, or no, it was Sky Moore, I believe, to just get out there in the flat and be wide open. They had some questionable bring the heat calls that I just don't know if they picked the right moment for that. The Chiefs didn't have all the wide receiver talent today, so you want to allow those guys to have to separate a bit, and they really didn't get in that position where it was corner versus wide receiver, which is what the Eagles were, hopefully looking for as a matchup. Obviously take away Kelsey and then man. Like, they should really have just been able to out-talent Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Sky Moore and Juju. But it wasn't really that situation. I mean, Pacheco had some break-off runs, and the Tony play was huge, but they really just were able to get into, Juju on a couple crossers over the middle. He really started to get on fire, which I'm kind of glad to see him. He really contributed there in the really important moments, and obviously as a Steelers fan, he was cool. Didn't really like the culture as much, but still, I loved him and his story, especially early on in his career. But I mean, just props to Mahomes, first of all. Like, the dude is ridiculous, and I can see him winning a couple more at least, if that's not too crazy to say. They trade Tyreek last offseason, and everyone automatically gives up on them. Huge playmaker. Like, you can't undervalue how important he was to that team. And then he comes back with a scrappy group of wide receivers. I mean, they went and drafted Sky Moore above, Pickens and some other guys, expecting him to be productive, and all he seemed to do all year was fumble and muff punts chronically. So that didn't pan out. Didn't get help there. Went and got, a speedster in MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He was good, but he's hit or miss. Juju was a good acquisition. Still not elite, but he made him pretty good. Wonder if they'll bring him back. I think they will. Hardman is also solid, but whatever. He was out today, so didn't end up at the end of it there. And he brought them when everyone knew he was going to throw it to Kelsey almost every play. He brought them and won a Super Bowl. That's just ridiculous to me against an insane defense. There was no cakewalk in this one, as people call the Eagles run. But man, wow! I think it's the combination of that O-line and the Eagles defense just being, between the play calling and not generating pressure. It was really just the pressure, and that goes back to the O-line. I mean, overall, crazy game. But those are just my first reaction, takeaways from that game. And good news for the Eagles. They do have a top 10, number 10 draft pick next year, and they have, they have some interesting contract decisions. You have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is going to be a free agent. James Bradbury is going to be a free agent. I believe Hassan Reddick will be a free agent. Some of those front, defensive interior guys. I believe Javon Hargrave is a free agent. Not sure on that one. But they're going to need to probably take at that pick. They're probably going to draft at that pick. A lot of people are talking about trading back and stuff. I don't believe that that's the answer. You could arguably get cornerback 1, which for me is, between a couple of guys. For their scheme, probably a Christian Gonzalez from Oregon. If one of those edge rushers falls down the board a bit, I don't know who it would be. I mean, it could be somehow a Tyree Wilson. I don't see him going that low, but for some reason, I'm not the biggest Myles Murphy guy, but it could be a Myles Murphy. I could see him falling, honestly. I'm not going to lie. I could see him falling because of the quarterback need early. I could see him falling down a little bit. I could see corner kind of, moving up, Devon Witherspoon and, Joey Porter Jr. possibly. But I could definitely see them sticking and picking a corner there. And then they got to figure out some of those contract situations. But they're in a good spot going into the offseason. Just really got to be smart. And if I'm going to go out on a limb, I'm going to say James Bradbury's not going to be re-signed after the holding call because he was the victim there. Obviously not his fault. It is his fault, but that's a very iffy call. It's not something I'm sure Philadelphia won't be too as accepting as I'm being right now, but nonetheless, I don't think you can place that much blame on him. But crazier things have happened. You see what they did to Jalen Reagor, so They literally kicked him out. Deserved, maybe not. But either way, bright future for them. I mean, they have a real staff over there. That's also another interesting one. Gannon might be gone, and Steichen also might be gone. So if they're looking at 2 new coordinators, offensive and defensive, next year, then we aren't really sure what they're going to be. We know, Sirianni's going to be there, and we know what their core is, but we've seen crazier things happen when new coordinators come in. So that will be a question mark if both of those guys or one of them leaves. And either way, I think they'll be good. I think they might be right back there next year. The Chiefs, dynasty, building, arguably, they've been there, I think, 3 times in the last 5 years. I mean, when are we calling it a dynasty? I think probably now. Yeah, and they could be right back. If Mahomes can do that with Juju and Marquez Valdez-Scantling and McCole Hardman and a terrible early second-round draft pick in Sky Moore and a maybe a little underrated defense. People go quick to call it bad, but still not metric-wise, not a good defense at all. Man, where is their wait till they go add another big guy again, like a Tyreek. I don't know what it's going to be there. I don't know. Man, I don't know. I mean, I think they could go right back next year. AFC is going to be tough. It always is, especially with the quarterbacks in it. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I think they could keep going back. I think they could grab 2 more in the next 5 years. So I don't really know if they have a window. Mahomes is their window. When he retires, their window closes. Obviously not knowing who their next quarterback is going to be, but I think they have a career-long window just with his talent. Like I don't think we've ever seen that before, honestly. Crazy concept, but I do think that's a valid statement. And whoever they add, I think they'll do a little upgrade on receiver. I believe they still need some corner and safety help. Reed's getting a little bit old. Trent McDuffie, he's good. He's going to develop, hopefully. He had a really rough play tonight, the A.J. Brown touchdown. He was just trying to look for the ball, and it's just kind of a rookie mistake. Got turned around a bit, but he was a good first rounder. It was a good trade up by them. I think they traded with the Patriots for that one, if I'm not mistaken. But they should also probably add some edge help. I know they got Karlaftis, but they could work. Nick Bolton had a night. Almost had 2 fumble recovery touchdowns, but he just seemed to be swarming the ball at all times, and it's really their scheme, to be fair. Like, he's just around the ball, and but he made his plays tonight. Like, he earned his money. Obviously, he had the 1 fumble recovery that was gifted, but nonetheless, he was there. That's a big part of it. You see those sometimes where the guard turns around and just falls on it, but took advantage of that and just always seemed to be in the backfield or around it. So he had a game, but other than that, I mean, they have room to grow. That's the scary thing. The scary thing is they don't have, like, the Eagles. They win, but a lot of people would say, oh, their roster, like, they have such a complete roster. I can't say that about the Chiefs. I mean, look at their wide receiver core. It's not elite at all. Look at their corners. Like, they're not. You got Jalen Watson, Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed, very good. But other than that, I mean, Reed is old. Chris Jones and Frank Clark are some dudes. Frank Clark, the playoff merchant. But, they have so much room to grow. They could add an elite, front 7 guy or even an elite corner. Their ceiling is just, we're not even close to their ceiling. And Mahomes is, he wasn't even healthy tonight. Like, what more can we see from the Chiefs? And, I mean, they're playing the most complete team in football in my mind, through all aspects of, position groups. And they won it just crazy good win. Gutsy effort, really. But I think they can get better, and that's just a terrifying thought for the league, especially for the AFC. So those are really my immediate post-game reactions. I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you for watching the video.